Dara, do you feel held by this podcast? Does it feel like home to you?
Yes. Yeah, but I'm gonna have to leave Sweden immediately because there's gonna be period blood in my juice.
You're not into that?
Oh, fuck, you got me. I do feel held by this podcast.
I hope you all feel held by it too.
Aw, that's so sweet. So this week we'll be talking about the 2019 film Midsommar, directed by Ari Aster. We chose this as part of our Oscar Snubs month, so to celebrate the Oscars that are coming up pretty soon, we decided instead of watching the movies that are nominated, which honestly we're not that into, we decided to pick some previous movies that we thought were kind of snubbed or not recognized by the Academy, because that's how I feel most of the time, honestly.
Yeah, no. Nothing that ever gets nominated is, like, something that I've wanted to watch. It feels like a chore, like being like, oh shit, now I have to go watch Mank.
Or like when it is something I like, it feels like a gift. I'm like, thank God, Parasite was pretty good. Or like Jojo Rabbit last year. I love that. Whenever there's an occasional good one, it feels like a real gem. Yeah. When in actuality, they just don't really nominate that good of movies.
Yeah, no.
But so we picked this one because we felt like it was kind of a snub. And we wanted to talk about it because, in my opinion, I think it's one of the best movies that has come out in the past probably 5 years or so.
Yeah, no,
certainly one of the best movies from 2019.
Oh, yeah. I'd say it's probably, like, top 5 for, like, probably the last 10 years. I saw something recently that Martin Scorsese was like, this is one of my favorite films ever.
Which is saying something. Yeah,
from Little Martin.
Eyebrow Martin. Have you seen his dog? He looks just like his dog. He has a dog that, they just like have, owners look like their dog.
Yeah, it's like that 101 Dalmatians scene.
Yeah, that's, Martin Scorsese has a dog that he looks like.
Aw, I'm gonna have to look that up now.
But I definitely think this is a snub. I think it is a snub in so many categories. Not only do I just genuinely think it was one of the best movies, performance-wise, Florence Pugh kills it. I think this is really what put her on the map as like an up-and-coming, like rising star, prominent Hollywood figure. Because before this,
she hadn't done much.
She had been in like a short film directed by Zach Braff, which is how they met. Yeah, and
she did what was it? It was something like
Fighting with My Family or something, where she was a wrestler.
Yeah, there was something that was like Macbeth-ish. I forget the name of it, but it was
I don't even know.
In that sort of realm.
But she hadn't really been in anything like huge. And the fact that she just knocked this out of the park. So I think this is the best performance she's ever given up to date. Not that she's been in a ton of stuff, but yeah, I think she's so good and totally deserved a nomination for this. She got one as a supporting actress for Little Women.
Which she was good in.
Which she was good, but she was so much better in this.
It's insane.
And I mean, I don't know if I can really say for directing, because I don't really know if I know enough about that to like say, but I think Ari Aster should have gotten a director or original screenplay. At least something, I just think this was such a cool story.
It's a very smart movie in so many ways. Like the foreshadowing, the way that it literally brainwashes you, just like you're in, what's the name of the place? Harga, yeah. It's insane. I'm really glad we chose this one because I haven't rewatched it until now. This is only the second time I've seen it.
Really? Yeah. I think I've watched this movie maybe 5 or 6 times, and it only came out like 2 years ago.
I picked up so much.
The second watch around.
Insane.
Pre-foreshadowing, like things in the background, things people say, totally hit you. I think I enjoy this movie even more every time I watch it. And it's one of those where it's like, oh, what movie should we watch? And if somebody hasn't seen Midsommar, I'm like, we're watching Midsommar.
Yeah, right.
But I also think visually, this movie is gorgeous. So stunning. I cannot believe it didn't get anything for cinematography, costume, production design. Crazy. Watching some behind the scenes stuff of how they made this film really just like pisses me off that the Academy didn't even give it a nom, didn't even look at it. And
the Academy fucking hates horror movies.
Yeah, we can get into that a little bit later, but it definitely is like a genre issue that the Academy will give a little crumb to the genre once every 10 years and hope that people are okay with that, where you have to realize that it makes up for a huge percentage of movies that people love.
Oh, yeah.
And
you have massive amounts of horror fans out there.
Maybe it's just like they're scared to give recognition to something that's maybe controversial or like scary or gross, you know, because it's very like highbrow movies are for the Oscars, you know, like quote unquote highbrow, which is bullshit. I would say that this is a fucking highbrow movie.
That's what I was gonna say. Like, horror movies can be highbrow. Like, there's nothing that says they can't be. I mean, obviously, like the 80s slasher films, it's nothing grand or noteworthy, but this...
Thinking about this, it kind of got me interested to look a little bit more into it and like the distinction between a horror movie versus a thriller movie.
Okay.
Because to me, when somebody says psychological thriller, I'm like, you're just talking about like a highbrow horror movie. You know what I mean?
Interesting.
But because you know what I mean? Like, Silence of the Lambs, that's a psychological thriller versus, I don't know, whatever, Friday the 13th is a horror movie.
Yeah.
So I think it's almost kind of that line of maybe things the Academy would consider, but I did look, and there are a lot of different, like, distinctions between the two, and, like, you know, film people that give certain attributes and say that they are two different genres, but there's obviously a lot of overlap. But it is kind of like the thriller is more about suspense and mystery, and maybe, like, a situation that could happen, and you can, as a viewer, can kind of put yourself into it. Like, even though it's absurd, you could be on a trip and get sucked into a cult. And that, whereas with a horror movie, it's just like a slasher, a murderer whose intentions you don't really understand. It's just killing people for shits and giggles, which I can kind of see that. But genuinely, I do think people just use the term psychological thriller or thriller to just mean like high production horror movies.
A big blanket term.
Yeah, I think you can kind of lump them together. And I definitely agree. It just has been not looked at as a serious, you know, movie medium, which is crazy.
Well, a lot of people consider Midsommar to be a horror movie. Would you consider it a horror movie or a thriller?
I mean, I don't personally think that there's enough of a difference for it to matter. But yeah, I would say it's a thriller, a psychological thriller, horror movie. I think it has elements of both. Certainly, visually, this movie's fucking disturbing.
Yeah.
I feel like it's almost implied that the people who would listen to this podcast, you would have seen the movie before, but I feel like maybe we are getting some stragglers who are just, you know, here for the first time. You're just here to fucking listen to us talk about some shit. But so I just want to say, like, for a content warning almost, that this movie has a lot of really disturbing themes. A lot of fucked up shit happens in it. And, like, even though we are a explicit rated podcast because we swear and we talk about things, this movie in particular has skull bashing, sexual, like uncomfortable sexual situations. Even I would go as far to say as a rape scene. Just a lot of really intense, uncomfortable, gross stuff. So if that's not really your jam, I would say go listen to Fantastic Mr. Fox or, like, you know, our Booksmart episode. Like, this is not it if it's not for you, this is a movie that I do hesitate to recommend to people who I think might, like my mom.
Yeah, be a little squeamish.
Yeah, I would not want my mom to watch this because I know she would just hate it. But just right off the top, you know, I know we're like 10 minutes in, but if you want to turn around now, honestly, I don't blame you for it. This movie is a lot. And I remember not really knowing a ton about it going into it, and I saw it in the theaters, and I was like, oh, it's a horror movie that takes place during the day. That's cool. And that's about the extent. And during the movie, I remember, like, gripping. Like, so much visual fuck shit happens in this movie.
I feel like, I mean, I agree with you to a certain extent, but I mean, I think a lot of the horror comes in, I don't know, I don't even want to say visually, but, like,
well, like, a big tonal shift, for sure. Yeah. Because it's like, I mean, you see it coming, and then it happens, and you're like, shit. Like, shit's about to go down.
A lot of it comes in at the end, that's for sure. It definitely builds to it, and then slaps you in the face.
But even the old people who jump off the cliff and get their skulls bashed in, that happens, like, not that far into the movie.
But, I mean, like, besides that, really?
Her sister with the gas mask, her sister... fucking suicides their whole family.
Yeah, that's like 5 minutes, and I forgot all about that. That's like the kickoff to the movie.
Yeah, the movie starts with a murder-suicide via car gas into a fucking gas mask. Like, it starts off heavy.
That's brutal.
Yeah.
I take back everything I just said.
But I agree, though, that it is there's a big tonal shift at a pretty specific point in the movie, and everything after that is just increasingly like, what the fuck, what the fuck, what the fuck.
Yeah. No.
I love it, though. I fucking love this movie. I love the way it made me feel, too. The first way I watched it, like, oh my god. Because I was not expecting anything. I love when in a movie, I'm like, oh, this is gonna happen. This is so obvious. And then they, like, subvert my expectations. Because I hate watching a film that you're like, this is gonna happen, and then you're right. And you're like, well, I could have written that. Like, why did I pay to see this? Why am I bothering if it's some boring shit? This movie, I could not even have the brain capacity to think what was going to happen next because I just was not expecting it. So, like, yeah, big shout out to Ari Aster because he's
only ever, done
basically
2
2 movies.
Yeah.
Which are both fucking incredible. I'm so excited.
I don't love Hereditary, honestly.
I would say Midsommar is the superior of the 2. I know a lot of people would say
disagree.
Otherwise.
Yeah. But, I mean, I think this one's just more impressive.
I agree, and maybe it's because of the success of the first one. Maybe he had a bit more budget to work with, some
like,
clout
I gotta
in the
up
industry.
my game.
Yeah. It's crazy. He wrote this movie after a breakup.
Oh my god.
Isn't that, imagine being Ari Aster's ex-girlfriend who is the catalyst for Midsommar? Like, oh my god, I wouldn't
even know what to think.
Have to go to a lot of therapy to process that.
Just be like, what have I done?
Yeah. Fuck, was I really that shitty? Because I would say that this is like the pinnacle of trash boyfriend.
I cannot overstate how much I hate the character of Christian. I mean, that's what
you're supposed
for.
to. Yeah, you're supposed to hate him, but it's the subtleties. And it's so nuanced the way it's presented because a shitty boyfriend in a movie can just be like, oh, he hits his wife. Like, oh, he's a piece of shit. He's a lazy bum, whatever. He's a piece of shit. But he's never, like, directly horrible to her. It's all in little gaslighting ways.
Exactly. Oh my god.
And it just, you're in, like, 5 minutes in, though, you know what kind of guy he is.
That scene in the beginning where, like, Danny ends up pretty much apologizing to him
yes.
about asking very reasonably about the Sweden trip, like, makes my fucking blood boil, dude. Like, there's one line where she ends up going, like, no, I'm sorry.
I was
probably
just confused.
Yeah, exactly. And I feel like it's just so shit because so many girls have probably been there.
Yes.
Because so many, like, guys have done that.
And you kind of, as a viewer, get that behind the scenes. You see him with his friends, and they're like, your girlfriend's so annoying, she's calling you, don't you want to dump her? She doesn't even like to have sex with you, bro. And it's like, so you already kind of get that, like, ew, I don't like him.
Yeah.
And then when they interact, though, you're so on her side, you're like, you don't see it, but he is just so not good for you.
Yeah, no.
But I totally empathize with that, like, feeling guilty in conflict situations where if the other person flips it on you and they're like, no, now I'm mad at you, I'm like, oh fuck, I'm sorry.
Exactly.
So I, like,
you tear yourself down and you're like, oh, I'm just stupid. I'm just stupid, and kind of submit, I suppose.
It's crazy to me, like, literally her parents and her sister died in a fucking murder-suicide, and he is so insensitive about it.
It's nuts. Nuts.
He's like, oh, you're crying again? I'm like, bro, also, it shocked me to my core later when they're on the trip, and Connie and I forget the other guy's name, the other couple that's from England, and they're like, oh, we're engaged, how long have you guys been together? And then there's a little discrepancy, like, oh,
it's like, no, it's been 4 years.
This seems like the way
like,
you would, this is a relationship that gives me, like, 6-month vibes, you know?
Yeah, right?
Like, you just got into the, like, we're serious now, but maybe I don't know all of your shit and you don't know all my shit. By the 4-year mark, you know each other's shit. Like, at least you should, but it's crazy.
Speaking of knowing each other's shit, he doesn't even remember her fucking birthday, dude. And then there's that one scene, like, you know it's been so bad for so long because she's like, oh no, it's my bad, I forgot to remind him that it's my birthday. You should not have to remind him. Like, this has been going on for probably, like, 3 of the 4 years that they've been together.
But yeah, I think just the way that they present this whole relationship right off the bat is, like, I'm not gonna say it's the scariest thing in the movie, but it's really what sets off, like, all of the kind of conflict that happens.
There's one scene, too, where, like, there are just so many instances I could talk about where he's a bad boyfriend, but there's that scene at the beginning where they're taking mushrooms.
Oh my god,
Which is
I
like,
hated this scene because I've been that girl who's like, I don't want to do it. And everyone's
exactly.
like, oh, you're a pussy and now you're ruining the night for everybody, so you do it and then you feel
have
like
a
shit.
terrible time.
Yes,
Yeah.
and then you feel, I
Like,
mean, not
you
that
should-
I've done mushrooms,
Yeah,
but
I
like
was gonna say, you should. I've never tripped, but I've had friends that trip, and it's very much a big thing. Like, if you are not in the right mind space to do it, you should
you
not
get
be
stuck.
doing it.
You can get stuck like that. I don't want to have grass growing out of my hands for the rest of forever. Are you kidding me? The way, as somebody who's never done a psychedelic, I don't know, but a lot of people really do enjoy the visual effects and the way that they simulate kind of like drug use in this movie. Yeah. How you kind of feel when you stand up too fast. Them using that in this movie, I just think was so genius.
I've never visually experienced anything like that, tripping. But I have, like I said, I have friends that do, and I was like, hey, can you watch this for me and tell me if this is accurate? And there's a lot of what TV and movies do trip-wise is like, it's really bad and it's really wrong and not at all accurate, but like this movie did a really good job of it. From what I understand.
Clearly Ari Aster has done some shit. Yeah. He did some experiential learning. He's like, sorry, I have to like do LSD a lot to prep for this movie. It's for my work. Yeah, it's for
it's my art. But yeah, no, the one thing I do know is that you don't look in a mirror when you trip. And she goes in there and she stares into a mirror and then she just like, well, that's like blacks.
No, but do you ever, when you're really drunk and you look in the mirror and you're like, who is that? You're like, that's not me.
Yeah. When you're pep talking yourself, like,
I'm not drunk.
Yeah, you're like at a social gathering. You're just like heavy breathing.
You're like, I'm okay.
Yeah, just like into the mirror.
But that's like me on a Tuesday night while watching The Departed with my parents.
I'm like, I just watched The Departed this week.
No way. I always think about one of the first times my parents, it was like chill for me to like drink with them, like socially. We watched The Departed and I was trying to keep up with my dad. Because I was like, well, you know, I gotta be on par. And I literally, I like had to go into the bathroom and I was like, oh my god, I can't do this. I didn't know that Matt Damon and Leonardo DiCaprio were different people for like most of the movie. I was like, wait, what? What the fuck? Anyways,
what did I miss?
Maybe we'll do The Departed sometime. That movie's whack.
It's just like 3 hours long.
It's 3 hours, but it's like, since we live in Massachusetts, it's like a Boston thing, so I feel like, did your parents make you watch it? Are your parents really into The Departed?
It's like a dad movie, so I've like seen like bits and pieces of it with my dad, but this was the first time I watched it all the way through, and I just rated everyone's bad Boston accents. The only people that do it well are Matt Damon and Mark Wahlberg because they're from Boston, and then everyone else doesn't have a Boston accent until they say, like, I got pop the cat.
Like, okay,
they
a little more subtle.
Yeah, they just slip in and out of it. I'm like, where are you from? Not here.
I mean, this is not a good transition at all, but accents. Not a lot of actors in this movie are American. The only one out of their group is Chidi. I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
What's that actor's name?
I don't know.
William Jackson Harper. I'm gonna feel like a dick if I don't look it up. But everyone else, Florence Pugh's English, Will Poulter's English. I think Jack Rayner. Maybe he's American. I don't know. But and the guy who plays Pele is like actually like if you watch interviews, he just talks like that.
Yeah,
like,
he's just from Sweden.
Yeah, William Jackson Harper. I got it right.
Pele's character is actually just from this cult. They were like, we need someone.
We need an insider.
Yeah, we need someone on the ground, knows what he's doing.
But there are a few instances throughout the movie where they will, like other members of the cult will speak English to them. Yeah. Like broken and with an accent a little bit. But then there's some, they'll just walk up to them and start speaking Swedish. Yeah. And you're like, huh? And I read online that there are no subtitles. Even if you put on subtitles, they don't subtitle the Swedish people, and there are and you're supposed to feel alienated the same way that the characters do, you know, like in a situation where you don't understand what the people around you are saying. So that's an interesting choice that I
smart, cool. Certainly smart.
Would you join the cult if Pele asked you nicely? Because I think I would.
I mean, if I didn't immediately see people jumping from the cliff, probably.
Yeah, right off the bat. No. I'm like, Pele, you got a compelling argument here. Just tell your friends, be like, hey, why don't you all stick around? Yeah. You can donate some of your sperm for breeding purposes.
Yeah, right?
And honestly, Will Poulter's character, what's his name?
I don't know.
I just think of Kyle. His name isn't Kyle in the movie, but just such a Kyle. Yeah. Be like, yeah, you get to live here for free and just, like, fuck milkmaids, but you can't vape.
Yeah. I mean, I would probably join. You're constantly in a daze, it seems, because you're just tripping. Like, every other drink they consumed was just shrooms.
It's, a lot of this movie, if you think about it a little too hard, starts to not really make a ton of sense, because this watch around, was thinking a lot about how they say that this is a ceremony they do every 90 years.
Yeah.
But I'm like, okay, but look at the houses you guys live in. Clearly you live some sort of, not like primitive, but like, you know, I don't see any businesses. I don't see a Starbucks. I don't see, not like a modern culture, you know what I mean? Clearly it's still a very secluded...
Yeah. Well, I mean, there was one scene where they, like, where Pele was, like, explaining to... I don't know what his name is. What was his name? William something.
Oh, we could just call him Chidi,
yeah, Chidi.
Honestly. I think, what's his name in the movie?
I don't know.
I don't know
I don't know anyone's names in any movies.
Especially, they all just have, like, boring boy names.
Yeah. Not Pele, though.
Not Pele.
Yeah. But, yeah, no. I was thinking about it, if I could survive there or not.
No.
And
No, I couldn't.
But you would join, but you couldn't survive
Well,
there?
I would join if Pele asked me nicely, but I would die immediately.
I could maybe survive there, except my one problem would be there was one point in the movie where they were all just, like, singing this song and rolling their R's, and I was just like, I couldn't be there because I can't roll my R's.
I can't roll my R's either. I was
like, I wouldn't fit in. I'd feel alienated and
Right.
left out, and they would just be like, who's this weird American that you brought that can't roll her fucking R's?
My issue would be that there's no hospital. What do you do? What do you do?
Do you have that many medical problems that you need
Yes.
to be in a hospital? Like,
Absolutely, yes. Are you kidding me?
I can't remember the last time I, like, went to a hospital for an emergency rather than just, like,
Oh my
checking
God.
to see if I'm allergic to cashews.
No. I'd say I go at least a few times a year for emergencies. Not even regular checkups. Anyways, I just got my tetanus shot the other day. I'm really proud. You do that every 10 years.
Oh,
And my
nice.
school was like, we're not going to let you graduate unless you get a tetanus shot. And I was like, fine. Stop
Those
twisting my
bitches
arm.
hurt.
Yeah, oh my God, my arm is still a little sore. But see, I bet they don't have tetanus shot there, and oh my
got a
God,
tick
ticks!
problem.
The ticks! I cannot believe the only time I ever related to that character was when he was like, I'm putting my socks above my pants because I'm afraid of ticks. I have such a big tick phobia. Every time I'm in the woods, I'm like, I have to wear long pants and socks because I can't fucking deal with the ticks, especially.
Are you just scared of ticks and Lyme and everything
Yes!
like that?
Oh, I can't. For the first time in my life, I had one burrow into my skin like a year or two ago. Has that ever happened to you?
Well, yeah, I'm gonna let you in on a secret. I had Lyme disease.
Did I know this about you? I must
This
have.
happened over the summer.
Oh,
Yeah,
I didn't
I'm
know.
a recent Lyme I'm in recovery. I'm
my
in remission.
How are you doing?
I'm alright.
Okay. That's so
It's not-
scary.
It was just, yeah, like I was at the beach. Yeah, right? We walked
Beach ticks?
We walked through some like tall grass. And that was it. And then I was done and I had a tick on my foot and I got the whole little red circle type thing and I was like, guys, give me the anti-Lyme pills. I don't know what to call them. Antibiotics, yeah, I suppose. But no, I have one of my roommates had like long-term Lyme disease. And so like his bones are fucked now.
What? I cannot believe. I think you're the first person I've met in real life who has Lyme disease, and now it just is happening to all those around you. Get away from me.
He had it before me.
That's crazy.
Yeah, this is a tick podcast.
No, Ari Aster, though, in interviews has been like, I specifically added the ticks because I have a phobia of them. And he's like, that was the scariest thing to me I could add in this movie was the mention of ticks.
Do you feel seen by that movie?
Yes, I do. My worst nightmare is fucking ticks, man.
Yeah, no, they're
That
a
and, like,
nuisance.
Never mind.
Like falling from a great height and smashing my face open on a rock.
Okay, it's crazy, that scene specifically, that the first woman, she does a belly flop, and that's what you gotta do.
She's practiced for this.
yeah.
She was on the trampoline.
The second guy goes feet first.
That's just so fucking stupid.
So stupid, and he is alive. He doesn't fully die, and then they bash his head.
Yeah.
Which, okay, that mallet is fucking huge. And a group of like 5 people
3
go
times.
up, and they bash it once, obliterated. Grandpa's skull is concave at this point. But no, fucking cousin Susie needs a turn, and she bashes it. And then they pass around the fucking mallet.
Let's all hit Grandpa.
Until his skull is level with the earth.
Yeah.
It did not have to be.
No. What did you all get out of that?
That scene was crazy, and I think that's the point in the movie when you know, like, this is fucked up.
Yeah,
and I think that's the kind of the point where you realize that the characters are in for some shit because they, you know, they're like hosts or whatever didn't tell them, and their reactions are like being weaponized against them. They're like, no, you don't understand our culture.
Yeah. I mean, well, the other thing, too, is, like, Chidi knew what was about to happen. Because he's done the research. Like, the night before, like, Pele was like...
Yeah, he was like, wink, wink.
Yeah. Oh, we have this ceremony. And he, like, names the ceremony. And he's like, wait, you're doing the whole thing? You're really gonna do it? And he was like, yes. And then... Chidi didn't tell anyone either.
Yeah, I mean, I wonder, I guess that might be just kind of a plot hole. If he knew the full reality, or if he thought that maybe it was just going to be like a little performative thing.
Well, I mean, no, I think he knew, and like, because what Danny asks him, she's like, oh, what is it? And he's like...
And she's like, is it scary? And then he kind of gives her a face. So maybe, maybe
and that's
he did
it.
know.
That's just him being a dick.
Yeah, Chidi is fucked up.
Yeah, no. Will Poulter is also fucked up, but I also noticed that he's got the funniest lines in the movie.
Whole movie.
Oh my god,
the fact that he's vaping, he's just constantly fucking hitting the vape the whole movie is such a representation of like how other cultures probably look at Americans.
Oh yeah.
Like he's here as a guest in this
thing. He pisses on the ancestral tree.
But just like his attitude about like, when am I gonna get to fuck some bitches? Let me hit my vape.
Oh my god. Oh. There was one line where I was like, dude, I want to give her a bath. That just cracked me up.
This time around, I did pick up that the girl brings him into the woods and gets his sperm before they kill him.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
Because they do the whole breeding ritual with Christian, and Pele does, or like it gets, mentioned that they bring in outsiders for breeding reasons, and... I don't know if we want to jump into this quite yet, but they do only breed with the white characters. And that kind of opens up a bit of a discussion about how race plays a role in this movie, because I don't think it's... I think it's pretty heavy-handed, but they don't outright say anything, but there is a huge... discrepancy between how they kind of treat the white characters versus the people of color. It is a community of white blonde people.
Yeah.
It's like Aryan race type shit. Yeah, it's Sweden, but they're all blue eyes, blonde hair, white people. It's what you assume. And so the Americans who come, the few that are people of color, definitely do stand out kind of a lot. Yeah. And they are not used for the same breeding reasons, I guess, and it totally leans into the horror movie trope that the black people die first.
Yeah, oh, entirely.
Yeah, because the first people who get killed
Chidi was at least the third.
Yeah, right. Chidi made it to number 3, but it was Connie and whatever his name was.
They were both the first ones killed,
British, but they were definitely both people of color, and they got killed right off the bat. And it is... Like I said, not something that they say directly in the movie, but if you pay attention to it, like the subtle racism is a lot, and I think it's intentional. I don't think the people who made this movie are racist. I think they did it with intention.
Yeah. That's how a lot of Europe is.
Yeah.
Like America's pretty racist, but Europe is also pretty racist.
Oh, I can't believe these characters are PhD students.
They're so stupid.
They're so stupid. Like, okay, Chidi's like balls to the wall about school, and him I get.
But he's got his blinders on. Yeah. Like he's like one of those kids that that's all he ever is like on about is school.
But yeah, he is really into school. Christian? He is a fucking idiot.
Christian's like one of those people that just continues going to school because they have no idea what they actually want to do with their life.
Hey, don't at me. Don't at me right now.
This isn't about you.
I'm feeling attacked. Wow.
But, like, you know what I mean? That he's like, well, I might as well just keep doing school.
Or very much a follower.
Exactly. Like, oh, my friends are. And I have no idea why Will Poulter's character is even there.
Oh my god, I thought that maybe he was just a buddy or something. But no, they fully said that they're all part of the same, anthropology program. Except Danny is a psychology.
Major,
But I'm like, what the hell? These are grad students.
Yeah.
That does not come off to me in that way. But I guess it kind of helps drive the plot forward as, like, the reasoning of why they're there and a lot of things that happen, especially with, I hate that we're just calling him Chidi, but if you haven't seen The Good Place...
Let me find his name.
William Jackson Harper, but I don't know what his name is in the movie, but he is on the show The Good Place, and his character's name is Chidi.
Let's tell everyone...
He just is Chidi to me, like...
Let's tell everyone what the characters' names are right now. So Florence Pugh plays Danny, Will Poulter is Mark. Jack Reiner is Christian, which is Danny's boyfriend. Oh, Josh. William Jackson Jr. plays Josh, yeah.
Okay.
They're all so boring names, like, I don't...
I can't remember, but I'm gonna try to stop calling him Chidi, because we're not a podcast about The Good Place.
Yeah. But, yeah, no, and, I mean, thinking about it, too, like, Danny's a psych major, like, you would kind of think that she would maybe... think twice about going to this cult type thing, but, like, also she's dealing with the death of her whole family, so you kind of gotta give her that one, I suppose.
I will say, I feel a little bit iffy about the way that this movie deals with mental illness. I think it does a really good job dealing with grief.
Yeah.
And her, going through the grieving process and what it's like to, like, have loss like that in your family and how she's struggling, especially without a support system around her to, like, help her go through that. I think that the movie deals with that very well, but the specific mentions of mental illness in the movie, I just wasn't really sure if I agreed with how they were placed. Like, they show her taking an Ativan at one point because it's implied that she is so stressed out by her sisters, by, like, her, her family situation, that she has to take an Ativan. And I'm like, okay, whatever. I don't really think you needed to show me the name of her prescription.
Yeah.
But if that is gonna give us a key into her, like, mindset or whatever, I don't care. But the thing that did rub me the wrong way is when they specifically say that her sister is bipolar.
I hated that. I really hated that.
Because she says that at one point, well, like, no... this is serious because my sister has BPD, and this isn't her just being dramatic. This is the way it is, which is an accurate description. But then Christian uses it, and he's like, "Oh, she's bipolar. She does
this all the time."
And then, the fact that it leads to a murder homicide, murder suicide. As I'm like, oh, are we just gonna demonize mental illness? Like, oh, she had BPD, so she killed people who have BPD don't just kill their families.
As someone that has a bipolar person in their immediate family, like, this really rubbed me the wrong way. Like,
I just don't think it had to be mentioned like that in the same way that
it's like, oh, she's bipolar. She does this every other day. Like,
they could have shown Danny taking a pill, and then you as the audience can fill in the rest. They could have said, oh, she's mentally ill. Or don't even say that.
Well, it's just, I mean, pretty much, portraying people with mental illness as a burden,
but also,
which is
the fact that
it's so overdone.
The fact that she does a murder suicide, we can probably just assume that she wasn't in the best place.
Yeah.
So you don't even spell it out for me. Yeah. I can get to that point myself.
Yeah.
That beginning part.
Yeah, this isn't a movie that really needs to be spelled out. It does. The whole thing is for you to read into it and rewatch it 5 or 6 or 7 times.
Yeah,
it's not. I didn't need that. I don't know why it was there.
Yeah, that part I didn't care for, but I do think it really set up a good beginning for Danny's character, because you can kind of understand where she's coming from a lot, because not only is she in this really intense situation with a shitty boyfriend in a place she doesn't know, but she's also, like, struggling to cope with recent loss. Yeah. So she has all these sort of different influences, which is crazy that Florence Pugh didn't get an acting nomination.
It's
because
fucked.
The subtleties in her performance and the way that she portrays all of these different types of sadness or fear or anger is, like, you can tell what the source of it is, and she has so many different sources of emotion. It's crazy to me. I just can't believe it.
there's that one scene in the beginning, sort of, when Pele is like, I'm so sorry about your family and everything like that. And, like, that was one of the, like, from the jump, I was like, she is phenomenal, because she turns on a dime.
Yes.
Like, she's just so fine and cool and calm, and then you just see that I don't want to say classic, but almost, like, iconic, like, Florence Pugh frown that she does.
Yeah, no, it's so true.
That's, you're like, this is gonna be good.
But even she does that frown in different points throughout the movie, and you can tell the differences between, because one, she goes into the bathroom and she's like, I wasn't prepared to talk to strangers about this recent thing that happened to me, and that was a source. When she's on the mushrooms and she thinks that everyone's laughing at her, like, still the signature frown, but the difference there, and then later in the movie, it definitely, the subtleties in her facial expressions and the way that she presents herself are crazy. I think that this movie, the characters are so well developed, even for whatever period of time you get to know them, like, right away, you know what kind of guy Mark is. You know what kind of guy Pele is. Like, it takes that one scene of them having pizza and that conversation between the five of them, you know who each one of them, like, distinctly personality, and then, you know, throughout the movie, more and more.
No, I want to just know if Florence Pugh's vocal cords ever recovered
from all the crying,
all the wailing that she has to do in this movie, because it's insane.
Yeah, I mean, because right off the bat, you think of the iconic scene where she's on the floor and all the women are around her, but paying attention to it, she cries a lot in this movie.
Oh my god, I remember watching it the other day, and I was, like, the only one, like, awake in the house still. It was, like, the first, like, shot, like, when she, like, finds out her whole family's died.
Yeah, she's just screaming.
She's scream crying. And the whole... the volume on the movie, too, like, turns way up. And I'm just, like, frantically trying to turn down the volume on my TV because it's just Lawrence Pugh wailing. I can't wake up my roommates.
Yeah, right. Somebody's like, hey, you okay out there?
It's like, it's just Florence Pugh. But, like, I mean, also, like, mentally, because I saw that she posted something about this recently on her Instagram about how, like, a lot of these scenes took so much out of her, and I'm no actor. But I couldn't imagine, like, the place you have to go to, like, to do all of...
And to give such a good performance, too.
Yeah. This, for me, reminds me a lot of, like, Florence Pugh's Mother performance, like, where you just have to go somewhere really dark, but also you have
You mean Jennifer Lawrence?
Who did I say?
You said Florence Pugh. Then we were talking about Florence
sorry,
Pugh.
yeah, no, Jennifer Lawrence, my mistake. But, yeah, where you just have, like, you have to go to such a dark place, but still, like...
Heath Ledger type beat.
Yeah, but then still, like, jump out of it because you have...
Because you're a person.
Yeah, you're a person, and then you also have other parts of the movies to film, and it's just, it's insane.
I know, I was watching an interview with, the guy who plays Pele, William Jackson Harper, Chidi, and Will Poulter, and the three of them, and the interviewer asked, like, oh, well, this must have been such a vacation to film. It looks like a beautiful location. And they all kind of started laughing, and they were like, no, it was fucking hot. There were bugs, there were wasps. It was miserable. Like, you think it looks nice, but no. And then somebody notes, they're like, yeah, and that's just our experience. That isn't even Florence and
Jack, what's his, Jack Ryan?
Yeah, Jack Rayner. He was like, their experience, because they were dealing with that, and they had to be in that, like, headspace the whole time. So just imagine, like, 100-degree weather with bugs, and they're like, all right, so your family just died. Let's get you there.
Yeah.
You know? Like, fuck. That just sounds miserable.
Yeah, no. I remember seeing something, too. Like, it was about it just being so hot and how amazing the whole cast was, like, in these conditions. Like, there's that one scene at the end, or close to the end, I think it's the May Queen feast, where there's a mirror on the table. And could you imagine? Like, I'd have a freaking heat stroke.
I knew that so this is, like, one of the reasons why I really feel like this movie was snubbed for production design, because the food scenes, to make food look good on camera is a crazy intense process, and especially with the big feast scenes and food that there were close-up shots of food, the food was used as plot points at certain points, like with the meat pies and whatever. To make that food look good on camera took so much work in 100-degree heat.
I couldn't imagine.
Was crazy. I think there was something like a huge team of people who were just focused on making the food look the way it was supposed to. And, like, and that's just such a minuscule part of the movie, is the food on the table at the feast. And the fact that much work went into it is crazy to me, that this didn't even get a nod, because just the way this movie looks is so stunningly incredible.
The cinematography is something that really stands out to me, but also, what is it? So much of just, like, the background sequencing of just, like, everyone, like, going and doing their own thing behind, like, whatever's happening in front of the camera.
But still looking like a cohesive community, right? Like a unit. Yeah, like, you know, they're in a group doing yoga. Or, like, they're singing and cradling a baby, and you're like, oh, this is just their life. Yeah, it never stops. You never are taken out of the setting.
The score was something that really stuck out to me.
Music, too. I wrote down snub, and then I just listed every Oscar category, because I was like, why was this not recognized?
There's a lot of horror movies do scores really well, because I think it has to, and it adds a lot to suspense. But this one really stuck out to me. This one did a lot. Just like the really dissonant, like, wailing. Like, I mean, it's pretty much like I think it's the title card scene with Florence Pugh wailing, but there's also, like, just the strings just wailing, like, in, like, really, just really ominous chords, and I was like...
Yeah, and I think it had to do that almost perfectly, because it was attacking the let's do a horror movie in the daylight topic.
So everything has to be outstanding.
So they're like, okay, horror movies, dark, let's reverse that. Everything is during the daytime, which was the big selling point of the movie. Like, I think I mentioned, that was literally the only thing I knew about it. Everyone's like, oh, the horror movie that's during the day. Yeah, so I think that the music has to be doing its job 100% of the time, because you still need to feel that horror feeling, even though it's bright and sunny and you're in a beautiful field and everyone is wearing white and has flowers.
A lot of it, too, like, really puts you in the space of Harga as well, because, I mean, they've got, like, these sort of, like, I don't know anything about Swedish culture, but, like, these, like, really Swedish sounding songs going on, and they're dancing around the maypole and everything like that, and I'm there, and the camera work for that scene, too, really
awesome.
I was dizzy watching it. I couldn't imagine actually doing it. Like, how long do you think you would last in the dance? You're tripping and you're running around a maypole dancing.
I wouldn't have even made it into the circle. I
could be like maybe 4 people deep, and that's it, and I'm done.
I did, like, now that you mentioned this dance scene in particular, I do want to pose a question that it was the first thing I wanted to talk to people about who had seen the movie, like, on the car ride home. I was like, Henry, like, what do you think of this? Because it was specifically that maypole scene that kind of triggered this, like, not confusion, but, like, I guess posing this question. Is how early in the film do you think Pelle knew that Danny was going to be the May Queen? Do you think it was premeditated?
I don't know.
Do you think she actually won that dance competition?
No, certainly
exactly,
not.
Because in that scene, the girls are throwing themselves on the ground, which, everyone's on fucking shrooms or whatever, but there are times when they kind of bump shoulders, and then they're like, ah! And they, like, throw themselves 10 feet out, and I'm like, you didn't actually fall like that. And so I'm like, how much of it was them throwing it because was it some sort of group conspiracy to get her to win because she's the outsider and they want her to stay?
I mean, the earliest point that I could think that he would maybe be manipulating her in that way is, like, when that she comes up to the apartment and she's like, oh yeah, we're actually landing
on my
birthday. Yeah. And I think that probably maybe clicked something in his head, and he's like, oh, my cult is gonna love me for this.
No, I took note of the same thing. I think the second time I watched the movie, because I was thinking about it, he says, I'm actually really glad to hear you're coming. And the tone of his voice is, I'm like, in that moment, did he conceive the whole plan to make that a whole thing? Him giving her the picture on her birthday, like, all those little things to lure her in. Oh, yeah. To him knowing that her family was dead and that he could capitalize off of that as this sort of found family cult community mindset. Like, oh, you have lost the ones you love, but you can have a found family within us. Because it all really ties together.
I got something for you.
But I really, the second time watching this movie, I really focused on that. And Ari Aster has responded to people posing this question, and he says it's intentionally vague. It's up for your interpretation. He has no answer. He's like, it's just, if you want to think it was premeditated, then that's what you can think. And if you want to think it just is, circumstantial. But I can't help but focus on the conspiracy of it all.
Well, there's so many things about this movie that you can analyze in that way. Like, I found myself, like, there was, like, a cow walking in the background, and I was like, what does it mean? Like, you can really... This is one that you can just throw yourself into, and you could write a whole, like, dissertation about it. This movie is so genius.
But yeah, it also is confusing to me if they actually do this ceremony every 90 years, or if they do it every year, and different people bring guests, and they say, we do this only... This is really special. You guys should come. I want to share this with my friends.
It's probably a year.
I mean... Again, it's not addressed, so it doesn't matter, but... Because, like, the elders dying, right?
Yeah.
That wasn't part of this 90-year festival, because they described that everyone does that when they turn 74.
Well, I mean, I'm thinking back, too, to that scene where they have all the May Queens on the wall, and it's not enough to be, like, every year, but it's also, like, too few to be every 90 years. Yeah. You have pictures. Fucking photographs didn't even exist, like, over, like...
you would have 2 May Queens up there.
Exactly.
Yeah, so, that is a good point that I hadn't really considered. And, like, they're all wearing white all the time. And they say how many days the festival... I think, like, 9. It's a 9-day festival or whatever. That's the period of time that they're there. But then they describe the things that they're doing as things that happen very frequently in the community. So that is a little, like... I guess you shouldn't think too hard about it, because who cares? But, that was really picking my brain this time around. I was like, huh... Mm-hmm. But so back to the like life cycle part. So they describe that they think of the lives as seasons, and like 0 to whatever, you're a kid, and then you do your pilgrimage. But then they have the hard cutoff at 74. Yeah. And those people, they do a suicide as a ritual suicide. And then I think Christian makes the comment where he's like, oh, well, that's just their culture. They probably see us sticking our grandparents into nursing homes, and they probably think that's fucked up. So how do you feel about state-sponsored euthanasia?
This was a hard turn. I was not expecting.
Do you think people should be able to choose if they want to die if they're over a certain age? Yes. Like what like 74? 70? 65?
I don't know.
50?
When do you get your AARP card? 60?
Because... I mean, I'm not gonna get into specifics, but I mean, as a practice, that was fucked. But as a concept, if you view a certain time as, look at somebody who's 100. How many 100-year-olds have actually good lives?
They're just in pain.
Yeah,
constantly.
I don't know. So like,
I mean, I have to assume, but
yeah, I'm not 100, and I don't remember being 100 in any previous lives. But I mean, I'm not trying to be ageist, I'm not saying old people can't live good, fulfilling lives, but I do think there gets to a certain point where you should just be able to decide that it's...
I'm done. I'm over this.
Right? At this point, it's only going downhill from here. Yeah. I do... but being like, if you're over the age of 80 and you want to go head down to the clinic and get the death shot. I don't know. I don't think that seems so bad.
No. I definitely wouldn't want to jump off a cliff.
No. I mean, like...
I wouldn't want to be that guy with his broken legs just wailing on the ground.
That might be one of the hardest things to watch I've ever seen on film.
I can't watch it. I like peeked through my hands watching it the first time, and I think I just turned away I watched the lady hit the rock.
Because she just flats.
Exactly. I don't like how I can see her skin flap up. And I don't love the close-up shot of him getting his face bashed in.
Yeah.
I can't do that.
I did watch...
I need at least like it needs to be like 30 feet away type of shot.
Right. They linger on it.
I don't need that intimate shot of his bashed in skull.
Yeah, and you see like flies start coming at it.
Foul.
Oh.
Yeah, no.
Speaking of things that are kind of hard to watch, I don't think we have to discuss it too much, but I do think the breeding scene is honestly, personally, harder for me to watch than the elderly suicide scene. If I'm being honest, the group of women all standing in the circle, moaning in unison while they push his butt into... That girl, I'm saying it right now, that girl did not look of age. Yeah. They were like, she just got her period, which means it's time for her to give life. Bad. And I'm like, she looks 15. But that's not even... That bothered me, but even let's assume she's of legal age. in whatever Swedish culture.
Yeah,
I
situation
hate that
is...
scene so much. I hate it. I cannot. That was the fucking worst part of this movie for me. And they show you it for. It's like a 5-minute fucking scene of slow missionary.
Danny's like blessing the crops, and then it's Christian getting his butt pushed in because his dick game's not good enough for them.
But so she hears something happening, and she's like, I want to go, and they're like, we don't think you should.
Moaning.
They're like, we don't think you should go in there. She's like, no, I'm the May Queen. I will do what I want. And she goes and she peeks through the keyhole and she sees it.
She vomits.
And then she cries. Do you think she's crying because he's cheating on her? Or do you think she's
just too much?
I was going to say, or do you think she's just kind of fully realized the whole situation and that's kind of just the apex of her? I think it's
probably that.
Because that's the first time I'm like, she's upset because he's cheating. But then after that, I'm like, no, it has to be like, it's fully realizing the situation that you're in and like addressing maybe like everything kind of coming to fruition.
Yeah, no, I just couldn't. That whole scene was just insane to me because I was like, how do you do, like, even for Christian, I'm like, how do you stay up?
Right? Oh my God.
I would be repulsed
naked grandma with the saggy titties.
I'd run the other fucking way.
Well, they drugged him.
Yeah, that's true.
They drugged him and then they gave him boner pills.
I did forget about that. That's the only time, not when he's like having sex, but the one time that I felt a little bad for Christian in this movie is when he's at the feast. And he's
my favorite scene in the whole movie is when the guy claps in his face.
Because I've kind of been there before, you know, when you get too high and you start getting scared. You can see how uncomfortable he is, and I'm just like, I've been there, brother.
He's kind of like I'm not gonna say he's a strange looking dude, but he definitely has very unique features, and his eyes are like kind of big proportionally to his face, which really helps in that scene. His eyebrows are like so furrowed, scared. And his eyes are huge, and you're like, oh, buddy, you are in it, huh? Yeah, when the old guy, he's like, can you tell me what's happening? And he claps in his face and everything goes like, boom, boom, boom.
I would sob. I just start sobbing.
I felt for him in that moment. I was like, wow. Yeah, I think that's probably my favorite moment in the whole movie. It just really gets me. But yeah, they drug him. They give him boner pills, and then a group of women collectively force him to impregnate, let's say, probably underage girl. And that I just fucking hated that.
So do you think that the cult wanted Danny to see that? Because, I mean, besides...
come on. It doesn't have to be that.
Yeah.
Because the girl who fucks Will Poulter and gets his spermies, she's like, let's go have a little romp in the woods. Come impregnate me in the woods, and then we'll kill you.
Against a tree. Like, it could have been a lot more subtle.
There was not a group of a dozen women in the woods.
Well, we can't say that for
sure. Yeah, true. Maybe it did happen twice. We were just left out of the loop.
But, because I mean, really, they're loud as fuck. And then also, like, that one girl just kind of was like, we don't think you should see that.
Yeah,
and that was it. Like, that's the weakest, like, don't go look that you can give. Like, that's like, we don't want you to see that, wink, wink.
Yeah, they're like, you shouldn't do that. And then she's like, no, I'm going. And they're like, ugh, okay. Don't twist my arm.
Yeah, all right, sister.
Yeah, and I think that does kind of lean into the theory that maybe everything was premeditated. Like, we're going to get the boyfriend. Yeah. We're going to rape the boyfriend. Let's make her see. Let's all cry together. Community. Yeah. Girl power. Do you think you could cry with a group of people around you crying in unison?
No.
I think, honestly, I think this kind of goes back to our theory that we talked about in the Casino Royale episode where he sucks on her fingers. So, like, in James Bond, when Vesper's in the shower crying, he starts sucking her fingies to get her to stop crying. I think if I was scream crying and a group of women all just joined me on the floor and I would just start laughing. And it would just be too confusing and odd of a situation that I'd be like, wait, I can't scream cry anymore. This is so weird. It would surely get me to stop.
I just don't know if I could I just run to the woods. Like, no one watch me while I just reg.
Right? Crying in front of people is the worst. So, as somebody who does it all the time. If every
When
time...
was the last time you cried?
Oh, probably a couple days ago. Every time on the train in Boston, if every time I cried on the train, which was kind of a lot, if everyone in the train car started emulating my cries, I would have just jumped. I would have jumped on the tracks. I cannot imagine.
Yeah, no. But I mean, that's pretty much the entire thing of, like, it's like, oh, we accept you in this community, we are one, and then it goes, and then you have the whole big finale, which is Christian gets put in the bear suit.
Which is awesome.
Yeah, where she chooses to put Christian in the bear suit.
I think that it was a good representation of how her boyfriend, and, you know, we don't really see a lot of her friends or whatever, but the group of people around her aren't really supporting her through her grieving process, and Christian's kind of like, get over it, you know, you're being dramatic, whereas these people are like, no, we're gonna cry with you, which is like, maybe, not to say that that's what she needed, but like, it was just the reverse to what she had gotten at that point, which is kind of like, oh, we're really trying to sell you on this cult.
Is our marketing working?
Yeah.
We paid a lot of money for this. We did a lot of research.
Honestly, I think Pele is their best salesman. I stick
Great
to my
job.
point
Did a
that
great
if he
job.
just asked nicely, the movie would be over in 10 minutes.
Yeah, no, 100%.
He's like, hey.
But, yeah, no, that end scene really does it. Like, that's probably one of my favorite endings for
Ever
a
in
movie in a
film,
long time. And cinematically, it's beautiful. I want to know how much that flower dress weighed.
When she's moving around in it, it looks so cumbersome. Oh, yeah, it's so cool. The costuming. Why didn't this get anything for costumes?
I was wondering, too, because this is something I noticed with this watch. Every single American in this
wears dark
movie
clothes.
Wears dark clothes, but it's also just plain t-shirts.
Yep.
Every single time, it's a plain t-shirt, and I want to know what the thought process was behind that, because it's like, okay, I own 30,000 graphic t-shirts. I own, like, maybe two plain colored t-shirts.
Yeah,
I mean, what was the I just want to understand.
Maybe there was an intention, but my instinct response is just that
Branding.
a lot of... Well, yeah, if you can't wear a Nike shirt in a movie without Nike's permission.
Yeah, exactly.
You can't wear, you know, a band t-shirt in a movie without a band's permission. I'm sure if they asked some companies or some brands, hey, do you want your t-shirt in our movie, they'd probably be more than happy. They could wear a Swamp t-shirt.
Yeah.
We don't have those yet, but if maybe someday.
Yeah, you let us know if you want some, and we can make it happen.
If any psychological thrillers who are struggling to find partners would like to wear our logo on their t-shirts, let me know. Hit me up. If a podcast drama thriller about I don't know what the plot of that would be. Two podcasters
trying to
go toe to toe.
I was gonna say trying to figure out what drink to make for the next movie. Be Moscow Mule versus literally anything else.
Yeah, we always just go with a mule, huh? but so I did have a note that on the very first scene when they arrive in Harga, you definitely notice everyone's wearing white, the Americans are wearing dark clothes. There are, I'm gonna say, like 30 Americans. In that first scene, there are so many people in dark clothes who you assume are like visitors, outside people, and then from then on, the only ones you ever see are Pele's group and Ingmar's too, who he brought.
I mean,
in the background, did they kill off 26 people and they didn't notice? Danny didn't notice for a second that half the people were fucking missing?
I think that it was because, I mean, you had Pele and Ingmar who were just like out in the world, like being people outside of their cult. So they could have just been cult members and then they got into their fancy little dresses.
Maybe.
But I don't know. It is a bit of a plot hole in that sense.
Yeah, I'm sure it was just a mistake that we weren't supposed to really notice. But they did say that there was like the second stage of life, which is
you go out and travel.
They're like, you go out and travel, and I'm assuming that if this is a strategic thing they do every year, each person is responsible for bringing back X number of breeding opportunities, sacrifice people.
I suppose at least 2, because that's how many people Ingmar had. He just had 2.
Yeah.
So he's like, okay, your bare minimum. You better meet this fucking quota.
Yeah, right, because they did have basically the exact right number of people for their quota or whatever. But in the beginning, Are Ingmar and Pele the only two people of that age group in the whole cult? No. So, yeah, again, I'm sure this is, like, looking a little too closely at something that is really not impactful at all.
Yeah.
But yeah, those were just some things
the movie
that I just noticed. But you brought up the struggle to come up with a drink. Would you serve fucking mushroom tea?
I think the most reasonable thing for a drink and like sort of on brand for the movie, if you wanted to get really experimental with it, would be like absinthe. You could get absinthe.
I was thinking the same thing. Like, what the most like
in line with
like liquor? If you're not gonna make like literal psychedelics, which I would
not recommend. Yeah, don't watch this movie off of psychedelics.
Also, if you're just like throwing a party, and maybe don't like push that on your guests. Yeah. I don't know.
But yeah, no, I think absinthe is probably the most like in line with.
Yeah,
if we're pulling from the movie.
If you could also use some sort of like tea as a base for your drink, but I mean tea's not a particularly good mixer.
Yeah, no.
Unless we're talking about like Arizona iced tea, but that's not particular. But I was thinking maybe like an elderflower liqueur. If you did like a very floral notes type of drink, that could kind of play into. And I will say, thinking about snacks and drink, nothing they eat in this movie looks appetizing.
I don't want to eat a fucking meat pie.
Have you ever had a meat pie?
I mean, like, probably once or twice, but do I want to eat a meat pie with...
While watching this movie?
No.
Absolutely not. Anytime the food looks a little bit appetizing, they're like, JK, there's pubes in it. And you're like, well, great. Now I'm not hungry anymore.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
I don't know what to say you eat with
a herring, a fucking cold fish.
Ugh.
Yeah, I don't know what you would eat. Again, maybe something kind of...
fruity.
A spring salad. I don't know what you would do with this. Some edible flowers.
I mean, I feel like our
like a really pretty cake.
That's true.
The best kind of flowers are the kind that are made out of frosting.
Yeah. I mean, you can make a really like fruity charcuterie board. I know we feel very comfortable in the charcuterie realm.
I know. I think at the end of every of this segment where we talk about food and drink, we are all like, yeah, maybe just make a Moscow Mule and then eat a cheese board. And somehow in a roundabout way, this will fit with the film. But yeah, this isn't a movie I want to eat during, honestly.
Yeah. Yeah.
At any point during this movie, I don't really want I think I drank an iced coffee. Well, I watched this movie first thing in the morning the other day. I woke up because I had work and then I had shit to do. So I was like, okay, I gotta watch this movie. And then I was like, I'm buckling down. I'm gonna have a cold brew and I'm gonna watch fucking Midsommar to start my day. And it really set a great tone.
So, fuck, marry, kill.
Oh, this is so hard because
I've got mine.
Okay. Are we just the whole movie?
I'm gonna go for the whole movie first. Okay. So I'm gonna fuck Danny. She hasn't had good sex in years. Yeah. I'm gonna marry Pele because he's just so fucking charming. And then I'm gonna kill the redhead because if I found a pube in my meat pie, I would be licensed to kill.
You think she would try to come for you? You think she would try to seduce you?
I don't know. Just her actions are out of pocket.
Did you notice the period blood in the drink?
Yes, that was the one thing I really caught on with the first viewing of this, and I was like, "That's gross. Disgusting."
Yeah. And they show the whole tapestry of the right to left. Yeah. And it's very heavy-handed, but so gross. But I guess it really gets the job done for letting you know what's what with the fucking Swedes. Y'all nasty. I don't disagree with you. I think that's great picks.
Thanks.
I do think Danny needs some love, maybe even a marriage. She just needs somebody who's gonna support her.
I don't even need to fuck her. She just needs to be spooned.
Yeah. I want to be you're valid. You can cry in my arms.
Rub her back.
Yeah, right. You can scratch her scalp. Yeah, she really needs, and honestly, I ship Danny and Pele. When he comes for her, she's the May Queen and he gives her a big old fat kiss, I'm like, this is what I want.
Right, exactly.
Yes. Join the cult. Start a nice little family with Pele. Are you kidding me? I think that sounds, not for me, but for you, Danny, I think that sounds really good. I'm here for it, yeah. I agree too. I think Pele...
Some cute little blonde kids running around.
Pele is a hot Swedish man. I like his hair. I'm trying to think who I would kill, because honestly, I'm like, who do I hate more? Will Poulter's character or Christian? I'm like, I want to kill. Like, honestly, her decision to watch him burn alive while being sewn into a bear. I'm like, yeah,
Valid.
I would feel very satisfied.
Yeah, that smile, I felt that.
That little smirk. I think people have discussed the ending of the movie and like what you're supposed to interpret that smile as. To me, it's so obvious. She knows that she made the right decision. Yeah. She is very satisfied watching what's happening, and now she knows that she has a place in this community.
Exactly.
And she's like, yeah, this is nice. There are people who are like, does she not understand? Is she on drugs? There's just like a lot of different like interpretations or whatever. I think it's very much like
she's at peace.
Yes, yeah, right. For once in this movie, she is confident in herself and her decisions.
Exactly. This truly is the one time that you see her just like, you know what? I'm good. Thumbs up, 2 big thumbs up.
Yeah, your choices were great. I'm trying to find a way to tie Danny's mentally ill sister into this, but I don't think I could
She's
help
already
her.
dead.
Yeah, I don't think I could help her very much. I guess I don't want to live in the cult. That's the thing. I guess I'll have to marry Pele, because what's my other choice? Marry Danny, and she's in the cult too. Everyone else is dead. Yeah. I can't marry. Oh my God! When Chidi's foot is sticking out of the garden, his toes. Oh man. Yeah. I'm not gonna fuck his foot, his severed foot that's coming out of the garden.
You could choose the dead people before.
Yeah.
You don't want to.
I don't want to fuck any of them either.
Yeah.
Chidi's dick only gets hard for books.
Yeah, anthropology. You'd have to like be telling him about runes, so it's like foreplay.
Speak to him in a dead language. I did take conversational Latin as my.
Can you give me a little Latin right now?
The only thing I really remember is verberat, which is to beat your slaves. Or it's like to hit. So I signed up for Latin, right, in college, because we had to do a language requirement. And I'm like, Latin, that'll be, because I took Spanish in high school, and I was like, whatever, not trying to redo that. So I was like, Latin, that'll be cool, because it'll be like less of a language class and more of a like, these are Latin words and this is how English got developed. No, it was fucking conversational Latin. We had to talk to each other. We had to be like, how was your day? Why am I learning conversational, a dead language?
You could crush a church service.
I don't remember much of it, but it was so weird because our textbook, all the things in it were like about ancient Rome. So it was like, I beat my wife, I beat my kids, I beat my slaves, I own all the land, I'm going to war with Greece. Like, it was I was like, why am I learning the word for like how to beat your wife? Like, this is not good.
This is why you can't be in the cult at Harga, because you need a hospital 2 feet away.
That's what I'm saying. I have to go get a kidney infection dealt with like at least every year. But yeah, I wouldn't make it. Should that be my movie, my screenplay debut, as I write a horror movie about like UTIs?
There was one time at my school they had like this I don't know, it was like a study. Because we have, and I participated in a study where
Did you get paid?
Yeah, I got paid $180, and I just had to pee in a jug for a week straight.
What? Did you have to keep it in the fridge?
No.
Oh, okay.
They gave us this fancy little bag to carry it around. Yeah, no, but I was gonna say, I wanted to write a short story about it like a short film about it, because it was just so absurd. It was just me and 3 of my friends carrying around piss jugs.
I was gonna say, like, out and about, like when you bring it to your classes.
I went to a baby shower.
BRB, gotta go piss in my piss jug. Oh my god!
I had this bag under my seat, and I was like, "Sorry guys, the baby looks. I'm excited, but I gotta go pee in my jug."
Honestly, I'd do it for $180. That's nice.
Oh, it was wonderful.
That's tight.
It was great. Yeah, no, a week straight. It wasn't even a week. It was like 5 days. It was perfect.
I would shit into a jug for $180 for a whole week. I would. That's
a little.
It was like airtight, as long as it didn't smell.
I'd have to go for like $250 on that one.
What about not a whole week? What about 4 days?
That's still pushing it.
I'm sorry. This is a lot.
You guys didn't sign up for this.
In conclusion, no drink, no snack, kill everyone, piss in a jug.
So, what would you rate this movie?
Oh, like 9 out of 10. I love this movie.
Yeah, I'd say the same, probably.
Yeah. And what would you follow it up with if you had to do a double feature?
I don't know. It'd have to be something lighter.
I was thinking like Paddington. Something really heartwarming that you can just, you're like, after this, yeah.
I like when we do the actor double features, and so I think Little Women is a really fun movie. And
yeah,
if you really liked what you saw with Florence Pugh here, you'll like what you see there.
Yeah, and I think that is also a good tonal shift where it's like a little lighter.
Yeah.
I highly recommend it. Another pretty heavy movie, but Will Poulter was in a movie called Detroit.
I've never heard of it.
And it was about like a civil rights historical event, and it was good. I think John Boyega was in it as well. And it's just a good movie if you're doing like actor-related films, or you can just watch all of The Good Place with Chidi.
Yeah, that would be a really good shift. Yeah.
I think if you're in the kind of horror, like recent horror, I think either of the Jordan Peele films, you can watch Us or Get Out,
which we're also massive snubs.
Oh yeah, for sure. That's definitely part of the horror being excluded. I think they included Get Out, so Get Out got a Best Picture nom as well as it won for Best Screenplay, and I think that was the Oscars trying to make up for lack of diversity, mainly criticism for lack of diversity. They didn't actually care about being diverse, they cared about looking diverse. To, avoid criticism. And so I think that they included, they're like, oh, what's the most diverse film we can think of? A horror film about racism. And so they included that one, but I think that was very much like the drop in the bucket that we get every 10 years for a horror film. Like Silence of the Lambs is really one of the only notable horror winners, or, thriller winners.
I can't think of any others.
Yeah, and occasionally they'll give like an acting or a, special, like, makeup sometimes, occasionally. But yeah, it is nuts that this movie didn't even get anything.
No, it's nothing. Yeah, ridiculous.
But yeah, I would love to watch, if you're in the mood, the horror mood, like Us, after this, I think would slap so hard.
I think so, too.
Anyways, you can find us online at theswamppodcast.com. It's our official website. There you can find our merch, which is pretty cool. And also, we do have Midsommar-themed pins, which are part of my Etsy store that I put up on the website. They're all movie-themed pins, which all, the money goes into helping us run and produce this podcast. We also have our logo on some pins and some tote bags, and some stickers, which are really fun. So if you want to check that out, go ahead. Our website also has all of our episodes and a comment section if you want to comment. We're on social media as well, Twitter and Instagram at The Swamp Pod. Hit us up. Let us know what you think. What are some of your biggest Oscar snubs? I was going to say that this was part of the A24 snub trifecta, that Midsommar, The Farewell, and Uncut Gems were all A24 movies from that year that didn't get recognized.
I thought about trying to do Uncut Gems.
But so, I should have mentioned that earlier, but yeah, so what are some snubs from the recent past or from the far past? What are some of your favorite winners? Things that you think, deserved the recognition that they got? Or just your thoughts on the horror thriller. If you're a really smart movie person and you want to really lay out for us the distinction between horror and thriller.
Yeah, please do.
I know I glazed over it ineffectively, but yeah, if you want to really correct us on some things we did wrong.
Free.
Honestly, you can do it with quite a heavy hand because I'm not claiming to be that smart.
Yeah. We're a movie podcast. We're not a film podcast.
But we hope you enjoyed. Sorry this was kind of a bummer of an episode, but I still think it's such a fun movie.
It's a great movie. I think everyone should watch.
So, and if you don't mind a little visual gore and you've never seen Midsommar, check it out. Whoa, wait, hold up. We're not done quite yet. We forgot last week to do the giveaway. So we're doing it this week because only 7 people entered, so they don't mind. But if that's any incentive for any of you listeners to enter in the future, you probably have a good chance of winning. So we had 7 entries on our Instagram. Each month we do a little Q&A poll on the 3rd episode of the month, and all responses in any format get entered, and so this month we had 7, so Emily's gonna do a little random number generator, and we're gonna pick a winner right now.
7.
Your mom! Jean!
Jean, the Jean machine.
Oh my god, Jean wins this month. Honestly,
she's gonna be so pleased.
This is amazing. I am so grateful. So her response, I do distinctly remember that we said favorite coming of age movie, and she said St. Elmo's Fire, which I thought was such a great. I think that St. Elmo's Fire.
She's an 80s person.
Is the Pokemon evolution that I need of Breakfast Club. Breakfast Club.
Fuck the Breakfast
sucks.
Club.
Fuck the Breakfast Club. Watch St. Elmo's Fire. Yeah. I just think
it's got all the same people in it. So
exactly.
It's just better.
And like, who are you putting into battle? Squirtle or Blastoise? Come on.
It's Blastoise.
Blastoise. So, Jean, we don't even have to pay for shipping. This is great. Yeah. Emily can just bring this.
I'll give it to you tomorrow.
Oh, hell yeah. So congrats, Jean, and also keep your ears open next month for our next giveaway, and be sure to enter.
I can't believe what?